We're going to review the first test at Australia versus India. That's if India allows this review. This is Clicking Balls. Welcome to episode 3. Doing something a little bit different this episode is we're going to talk exclusively about cricket, which is great because, to be honest, when we started this, we had on the first episode, cricket was half the rundown for the first episode, and then the unfortunate events with Phil Hughes transpired, so we didn't feel like talking about cricket anymore.
Yeah, it wasn't really a lot you can tell jokes about cricket in that circumstance. So,
and also because it's our first one, we don't want to be seen to be
be a cunt.
Trying to get any traction off the back of that. But
yeah, exactly.
Look, the way it's been handled, though, is something we can talk about. It's the only way they could do it was by delaying the first test, and they've done it. They've gone to Adelaide with all the emotion. I think they did it well. Actually, everybody did it well.
Yeah, I think it was handled really well, and especially, first and foremost has to be his family and then the players. And the thing is, they could put the test on, but would the players physically be able to get up for it?
Yeah, you saw how bad, New Zealand and Pakistan, and they were literally on the other side of the world, and they weren't dealing with it because, with players in the IPLs and all the other T20 leagues, it is a real big international cricket community now, and they all felt it. So it was the right thing to do, and then they honoured Phil well on the day.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's good that you got to get on with it. You can't stop forever.
Exactly. And one thing that I did really like was at the Adelaide Oval Test, where instead of having a minute silence, they did 63 seconds of applause.
Yeah.
I think it's a better way to pay tribute to someone than it's already solemn, and you've already been through the solemnness of a funeral and media and everything, and it's got to be a point where you can celebrate the life that someone had, and I think that's a really good way to do it.
It's a positive way to do it at the start of the game,
Yeah, and if I ever did anything worthy of a minute silence, I'd prefer a minute of a round of applause.
Yeah. And they did it at the soccer as well in the A-League. And
that was brilliant.
It was good. The only thing is I hope that they can now move on from the grief stage. Because we don't want to sit there and dwell on it now, because you've got to move on, otherwise it becomes a little bit of misery porn after that.
Yeah, and I think it seems like moving forward, you always want to, there's always people that are going to pay tribute and give their respects. I think that's really good, but I think 63, the number should be the one we give respect to.
That's the one that's going to stay.
Yeah, because we've got the 37 and was he 408 and
it was like, oh, okay, now this number is 2 removed of the prime of the 2 square root of his total test innings. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
63.
It's good that mathematicians can pay their respects as well, but
you got to get in there somehow.
I ain't the smartest bloke to be able to figure all that shit out, so I'll stick to 63 and celebrate that number.
The great thing about the game was, the first day was all about honouring Phil Hughes, and every time they got to, Clark got to 37, then he got to 60, or Warner got to 63 in the hundreds, and then they're going, and then by day 2 and 3, it was almost like that's still happening, but the cricket's on. The cricket was the focus for a change.
And what a game it was to put on.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
Adelaide Oval just tends to put on those real ripper matches that come down to the last day. I remember when I actually lived in Adelaide, it was the test where, might have been one of the Ashes tests, I can't remember, but
when England, I think, scored 500 and declared in the first innings.
Yeah, and we had to, I think it was on day 4, we had to chase down their total, put up a total that they had to chase down, plus take 10 wickets to win the match.
Yeah, it had to score runs quickly.
Yeah.
And then had basically 10 minutes and the last 8.
Yeah.
And Warney ripped it up.
Warney killed it. I remember.
As Warney does.
Yeah, because it's coming to, I think it was lunch, they thought, it's going to be a draw or not much chance. So they threw the gates open.
Yep. Yeah.
I lived in North Adelaide at that point, so me and a mate went down there, and that was brilliant. And that's when they still had the old hill as well. And I can't remember if it was on a Thursday or Friday, Arvo, but as soon as the working day finished, everyone got down there. And I've never seen that many people in business suits on the hill.
Yeah,
got a beer in hand.
Nah, see, and Adelaide turned up. It didn't look like it was going to. In the middle, couple of days, it looked like a bit of a railroad.
Yeah, and a bit of a rain delay as well, where you thought, it might get in the way.
Pretty much lost day 2.
Yeah.
Which, with the rain delay, brought about some really interesting tactics, because they had only a limited amount of overs to bat, and you thought, okay, do they declare and throw the Indians in and get 15 or 20 minutes at them? But I reckon they looked at it as the whole test has X amount of overs. We're going to bat, either we bat with these overs now or in the second innings. It doesn't really matter. We may as well use them now so that India doesn't go in and claim the light. Because if you claim the light, those overs are lost. You never get them back. So I thought it was a great idea. Even so, we declared twice overnight rather than giving India the last 10, 15 minutes of the day to bat. It was a good call, I reckon.
And I think that's sort of been one of the hallmarks of Clarkie's captaincy is that he's going for the win. It's very rarely that he'll play or draw unless there's absolutely, that is the win.
You say Ponting and Waugh, the last two captains in front of him, same thing. It was just always going for the throat.
I think Punter got a bit more conservative towards the end there. I think he sort of stepped away from the audacious captain than he was when he was younger.
I think the team changed a bit too. Once you lost Warner McGrath, you can't go into the last day going, we'll take 10. Don't worry about it. It's a bit different there. But it was good to see that having the long view of the game and say, we need these runs. First innings, second innings, doesn't matter.
And just the timing of that style of test match where people are questioning the validity of a test match these days. And I've been one, obviously growing up watching cricket that's different to sort of just getting into the game where I can see how it's hard to enjoy test match cricket if you didn't grow up watching it. But I still love it. There's lots that are boring, but there's lots of one days that are boring too. And I think the quality of a good test match, it's just as valid as the quality of a really good one-dayer.
It's hard to remember like a one-dayer from last season. Like you go, I remember the last over, and somebody, Faulkner scored all those runs. You go, I remember that one. But a test match, we're just talking about one that happened, 5 or 6 or 7 years ago.
And I'm not sure if I got it right, but I thought I could remember the actual day that happened on.
It's why test match cricket's always going to be there, especially for the big nations like Australia and India, or Australia and England and South Africa.
And I think it'll take a bit of the randomness and luck out of the game as you do with a 2020 where you get a couple of cheap wickets or a couple of mistakes, that's it, you're in trouble. Whereas a test match, of course, you've got other variables that come into play, such as weather and pitch conditions and ball conditions.
Like we just said in that one with England at Adelaide Oval, scored 500 odd and declared in the first innings and lost. It's amazing. On that, we got a World Cup this year. What would you rather? Australia went undefeated through the 4 tests against India or undefeated through the World Cup?
I'd prefer undefeated through the World Cup. However, if it was England, I'd prefer undefeated through all the test matches.
See, it's weird because I was thinking about it. Like, I'd rather that we lost in the World Cup than we lost in the test matches. Like, because the World Cup you're losing it, it comes around. It's only once every 4 years, but a test series just seems so big, especially against India.
And a World Cup where the majority of the world isn't competing in it, it's kind of, it loses its...
Well, and half the teams there are sort of like, good on you guys. Thanks for coming.
Some of those are the best games where you see Holland versus Ireland or something like that.
Yeah, it was the last one, wasn't it? A Canadian, I want to say his name was Davidson, but I can't remember. He scored 100 off like 30 or 40 balls or something. Yeah, it's good to watch the minnows, give their best. And then every year, one of them knocks off a test-playing nation.
And I think... For some reason, cricket seems like something that South America would enjoy. You can play it on the beach. I'm surprised it hasn't really got across there.
Well, I mean, you'd think the West Indies would be your avenue in. But at the same token, I mean, soccer hasn't taken over the West Indies. They're very much cricket and basketball. Apparently, is big over there. You reckon it might have been something here? It's not. For the casual game, I mean, you need a bat and a ball. Really, it's not like you need a bunch of equipment or a big area.
I mean, everyone's used all sorts of a variety of things as a wicket.
Exactly. Painted on the fence.
Painted on the tree out the front.
South America is probably somewhere they can look at. I mean, it's getting big attraction in Africa.
And I mean, you would think if people can get behind it, you don't need money to play cricket.
Exactly.
Like we said, you need a ball and you need something to hit it with, and that's it.
That gets you started. So back to the first test then. One of the issues with India is no DRS. Wasn't it fantastic to see a couple of decisions that could have been reviewed go against them?
That was excellent.
It's always that show and fraud of it. It's fantastic. I mean, I don't understand why they don't have it still.
And I was thinking, I mean, the motivations, officially they said that the technology isn't spread across every team, so it's not fair that some people get it and some people don't. And I mean,
you pay for it then, you bastards. You got all the money.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, I mean, that might be a valid point if it was ridiculously crazy expensive and there's no way that anyone could afford it. But the technology is out there. It's only going to get cheaper. And it seems like maybe they're used to getting a bit of a fair rub of the green from the umpires. They're like, you know what, we'll just take it easy.
They do, absolutely, except when they come to Australia.
Yeah.
Because even there was a few decisions that went their way. And I went watching YouTube clips through the years. Geez, they've been screwed sometimes when they come out here, and it's still good to see.
Yeah, and one thing I think, it might be possible that the umpires, because they don't want DRS, they may not give them the benefit of the doubt just from a humanistic point of view where, like, well, you're not going to choose DRS, well, you know, I have to make a decision, so...
I've got to make my call.
Yeah, I'm going to give it out.
You fuckers live with it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe subconsciously, maybe that enters into it. I mean, they're human at the end of the day.
Exactly right. And I mean, and... it must be detrimental to them being able to do their job properly because they don't want to make wrong to screw people over, but generally you have to have faith that they've got the best interest of the game in mind.
Yeah. It is weird like that because in every other series they have that backup. So even the umpires are used to it at an international level. Having said that, they've grown up, going through the ranks without it, so it's still their bread and butter.
And the other thing that they were representing from India's side against it was that
it's not perfect.
No.
I know one of the things they said is it doesn't get all the decisions, and I'm like, well, you know, if you're getting 80 out of 100 right, and now you're getting 81 out of 100 right, that's
it's a
better,
step in the right
it?
direction.
It is better than the naked eye, but I think if you refuse to have the DRS system in there, then you've lost all right to complain after the fact.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got bad decisions. Like, well, dude, could have fixed these and why not?
Yeah, we've got something that can fix that.
Having said that, you know, there was a couple of decisions. There was an LBW with Lyon that was 100% out.
Yeah.
And he was on 20 something and he went on to make 99.
Oh, that's when he padded up like French cricket style and bang right in the middle.
I think even stick cricket would give that one out.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's always good to see those kind of decisions go against them. But the other thing with it, so India says no. Why does it mean that they get their way? Why isn't the DRS system the default rather than the exception?
Yeah, well, that's what I think. But correct me if I'm wrong out there, but I believe when they first brought it in, the technology wasn't as good as it is now. And so the decision was, if both teams agree to it, then we'll put it in. But it's gone to a point now where it's pretty good. It's pretty decent.
Yeah, they've got Snicko and Hotspot. And Hotspot, I think, is a little less ambiguous than Hawkeye, which is predicting the future, and Snicko, which is a definite sound, but it's hard to tell bat on ball or whatnot. But Hotspot is kind of it's thermal imaging. It's kind of hard to fake and get wrong.
And that's right. The other reason India didn't want it in were they claiming that teams use it as a tactic, and I mean they might be right, but it's a tactic that can backfire on you.
Yeah, exactly. We saw happen in the one dayers with was it AB de Villiers or somebody who got out LBW? It wasn't AB de Villiers. It was one of the South African batsmen in the one day who was out absolutely plumb LBW and appealed it for some reason.
Yeah.
So they use their appeal, and then somebody else 2 wickets later gets caught behind when they didn't hit it.
Yeah.
Well, great, you've used it as a tactic. You just screwed yourself over.
Well, what about if for a one-dayer, if you can have as many challenges as you want, but if you get it wrong, you lose an over?
Theory's good, but what if it's in the second innings? Do you add an over? It's not bad because... At the end of the day, they've always said that the DRS is in there to stop the howlers. Yeah. But now they're using it as, well, it hit his pad. Could be out. Yeah, let's find out.
Yeah.
So that's one way that the penalty would be absolutely massive.
Yeah.
Especially in a one-dayer.
Yeah, and I think, of course it was going to use it as a tactic, but, it's something to spice up the game and something to get things right. It seems like a small consequence to pay for having a game that's much more correct in the way it's umpired.
Yeah, I mean, you had the first wicket in the second innings was caught off the shoulder, and it can change a game.
Yeah, and to be fair, it seemed like India did get the worst of the umpires, obviously, this game, and the DRS might have had a different result for the game.
Yeah, if they put DRS in, they would have. There's a couple of wickets that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But there was a couple that would have as well. At the end of the day, that is the genuine rub of the green. And that's the way. Nobody doubts that Australia won that game. They played the better cricket. So big man of the match for the game, Nathan Lyon.
Yeah, what a comeback for him. Well, not really a comeback, but what a presence.
Yeah, and I know following it during the game, Warney picked it. He said, "Yeah, he's going to get an absolute. He's going to get a bag here," and he just tore it up. It was such a contrast to the Indian spinner Khan Sharma. I had to write that name down just to remember it. Who all the commentators, as biased as the Australian commentators are, were saying he's bowling flat. He's too scared to put it in there. Yeah. Lyon, pitches it up, gives it some loop, gets smacked for 4, gets smacked for 6, and going straight back in the same spot.
And that's why I love Test matches, because the spinners have that option where you can sacrifice a few runs for the sake of setting up a wicket
and work for a wicket rather than he's going to try and hit out. We got him. It's a wicket.
Yeah, and Warney said it best, where he's like, you have to set up the wickets. Like, I don't bowl any ball just by accident. I plan it out, and I know exactly what I'm going to bowl and what I'm trying to get him to do. And I might go for 4 one ball, but I want him to be swinging at those balls. I want him to be confident playing that shot. So when I give it a bit of extra flight, hit it in just a touch in a different spot, then he's going to get caught.
For somebody who's made so many poor decisions off the field, it is amazing how good Warney's brain is for cricket. It's obviously, has channeled every little synapse into just that one thing. Into cricket and pulling blondes.
Yeah. And I think he's used his quota of brain cells in the cricket field, because there's not much he doesn't know about a wicket and spin bowling.
Yeah, it is amazing when he's mic'd up, when he's playing in the BBL or in other ones, he goes, I'm going to put this one a foot outside off stump, and he's going to hit it and get caught out in the deep. I think that was Herschel Gibbs who got caught.
It was.
That was amazing.
And I love that side of cricket where they can be mic'd up and be commentating as they go. I mean, you don't want to see it in every game, but it's good to have that.
You don't want to see it when they're running in and Shane Watson's, facing up. But no, Lyon, his first fifer ever in the first innings, and he backs it up with a 7-fer.
Yeah, and just the amount of spin he was getting off the wicket.
And the jump.
Yeah, and Adelaide Oval's always been like that for the last 10 years or so, but from Lyon.
Yeah, it's always been a great pitch in that. But I know, and I've forgotten his name now, but the groundskeeper who was the world famous groundskeeper who retired or moved on from Adelaide Oval. It could be. You could say it, and I wouldn't remember it. I'd have to Google it. Who a few years ago he retired. So they were a bit robbed in their preparations. There was a rain, and obviously the schedule changed and it got brought forward for them. But it's good to see a result anyway. It feels like we're getting more results in Test cricket these days than what we used to as well.
And I think players, they'd have to be aware of the value of having an exciting Test match, exciting cricket.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're only getting paid because people are watching.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's good to see that actually people, both teams, India and Australia, both playing for the win. Even India, it got towards the end, but you can tell they're still playing for the win. They're not playing for the draw.
Especially Kohli. He was definitely going for it.
Yeah.
He got caught out of the boundary at a time where if he blocked it out and saw the day out, nobody would have blamed him.
Yeah.
And he's on debut as a captain, so it's good to see that mentality in cricket.
Yeah, and it really sets the standard for the next 3 Test matches.
Yeah, it'd be interesting for the next one in Brisbane. But anyway, the other big performer for the Test for the Aussies was Davey Warner.
Yeah, what a knock.
Isn't it amazing when he burst onto the scene a few years ago? He's a T20 specialist, and that's all he was ever going to do. Now he's probably the in-form opener in the world.
If they could have, they probably would have put him in as a pinch hitter or something like that.
But he's absolutely killing it. I mean, back-to-back hundreds. It's the second time he's done it in this calendar year, I think.
And I think what makes him so great is just his shot selection, because he plays aggressively, but not always out of control, if that makes sense.
That first innings, when he went on, it was 30 off 14 or something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he was dancing down the pitch and trying to make the action. They just bowled it slightly loose and he went whack.
Yeah, and I'm surprised the runner didn't go out there and tell him that there's no actual power play. This is a Test match, mate.
Why would you stop it? He probably did send somebody out and he goes, nah, mate, I'm watching this.
Yeah, and the funny thing was that India got fined for the slow over rate.
Yeah, they get it all the time.
Yeah, people were blaming them because they bowled slow in the first 10 overs. And it's like, they've been chasing Warner's cherries around North Adelaide for the best part of a morning. I wouldn't be fucked. They couldn't chase to bowl any more overs either.
Yeah, the only amazing thing was Ishant Sharma was actually on target.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been one of the wildest bowlers there's ever been.
He has.
You know, when it comes to hitting the pitch, he's had more misses than Warner's had.
Yeah.
But he wasn't getting rewarded for it, but he was actually putting it in the right spot.
Yeah, and I think he's only still young, isn't he? Like, I mean, he'd be mid to late 20s, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I think he's been constantly improving, but I think someone like that really learns from the people they play against. Like, someone for him, watching Mitch Johnson or even Brett Lee, people like that bowl, you know, you'd have to take a lot from them and see how they bowl at a really fast pace.
And they were very wild when they started.
Because it's hard to do that and actually be effective.
Yeah, and hitting that consistency. You know, you go back to Glenn McGrath, who was never fast by any sense of the imagination, but you could put a rope quoit out there and he could hit it.
Yeah.
Because that's all he was doing, is hitting it every time.
Yeah, and I mean, even Brett Lee showed us how you bowl serious express in a one-day format, so that you're going to get runs, but there's a way to do it to be able to control and line and length, and also adapting the way you bowl and really understanding the batsman that you're bowling against.
It's hard for an Indian too to be a fast bowler because they don't have that rich vein of fast bowling history. But whereas spinners, you know, they've got them coming out of everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's not like the West Indies or something like that. So
yeah,
you know, he'd probably really enjoy Australian pitches where it's a bit more bounce and a bit quicker through.
Yeah, which is surprising because Pakistan always had a very good pace tack through the years, but it was more swing, not serious express.
Very much so. But again, you know, you go back to Waqar Younis and Wassim Akram and those kind of guys, you're talking, you know, best in the world.
Yeah.
Who are best in history or best in a generation of bowlers.
And it seems like there's been lots of innovation from those teams, like, especially in regards to spin bowling and also preparing a pitch.
Yeah, there's been some dust bowls out there, but I mean, you know.
What do you expect?
Yeah.
You've got to have some home court advantage.
Yeah, it would be interesting one day if they ever come up with a standardised synthetic pitch.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I mean, you can't do the old AstroTurf on concrete, but, you know, like a running track or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we start to get balls that can grip and turn sideways again.
Yeah, well, I think you get to the point where I know the MCG, or most of them now have lift-out pitches where
just about all of them,
they grow somewhere else and whatever they are, wherever they are, they're not in there. And I'm thinking there's going to be a point, if there's not already, where they've got probably 8 or 9 pitches growing simultaneously.
Pick which one.
Yeah, depending on who's going to come out and play. And so you've got a few come along and you can go along, we'll take that one, yep.
It'd be good and drop it in the night before.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, India is spoilt for choice because they got desert everywhere.
Well, it's going to be interesting now that marijuana is becoming legal across all the world. So the technology of hydroponics is going to get a lot better.
Yes,
so
true.
that might be one of the side effects of it. You'll find out that there's some people named Screwball or something who's now working at Adelaide Oval.
And you might find there's more people inclined to sit on the couch for 6 hours and watch a test match.
There's such a good tie-in there. Somebody's Doritos start sponsoring. Well, KFC, I mean, that's already down the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, well, if you could buy a carton of VB with a 25 bag of weed or something like that, get the lads around.
You're right for the next 5 days.
Yep, pizza voucher from Pizza Hut or Domino's for everyone to sponsor it.
They're laughing.
And I mean, I think Test cricket's dead. We've got a way in here.
There's a new market, a younger market. There you go. That's how you get them in. Warner's he was a bit lucky in his second 100 in the second innings. After get bowled off a no ball, gets dropped, but still smacks him around.
Yeah.
But the other big performer with the bat was Steve Smith.
Yeah, what form?
Not out in both innings. 100 odd, 140 odd, I think in the first, or 160. Can't remember.
Yeah, 100 and plenty.
100 and plenty, and then another half century in the second. It's just amazing. Again, somebody who's really come from being on shaky ground to just stamping his authority. And,
I mean, I can't remember exactly, but I think he might have been brought into the team as more a bowler that can bat as opposed to a batter who can bowl.
The Australian team was having trouble finding a spinner, and they thought, all right, well, here's a spinner who can also bat a bit. It's a little bit of a stopgap. And apparently he's always viewed himself as a batter, not as a bowler. But, he's batting number 8 when he came in. And now, on the eve of the second test, he's going to be batting number 4. Yeah. And wearing the captain's band. So,
and if you look at his form, I saw the stat for his last 5 or 6 tests.
Ridiculous.
It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like they just don't have lines high enough to be able to count his runs. And his average for the last few tests would be crazy with not outs.
Yeah, well, I mean, his calendar year is probably, in the 70s or 80s, and While we're talking averages, I think Davey Warner is probably 1 or 2 good innings off a 50 average.
And it makes it a very tough decision for the AB medal, which is always good for Australian cricket.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I have to go back and have a look at the start of the year and try and remember all the games.
Yeah.
Okay, and so then the other bowlers. Johnson, not bad, but bit expensive.
Yeah, bit expensive.
Not as bad as the old bad Mitch, but not as good as the good Mitch.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to allow him one bad test, or not a bad test, but one average test now and then.
It was not like any other pace bowlers were ripping it up either.
Yeah, and it seemed like the pitch was always going to be the spinners bowl them out at the end.
Yeah,
it didn't seem like the pacemen were going to do a job they had to, but the spinners were only going to do the real damage.
I think the real thing with the pace bowlers was they were happy to get the bouncer out again.
Yeah.
So that's all good. And, the first one hit Kohli on the helmet. There was a little bit of oh my God, what have we done?
Yeah.
Got over it, get on with it, bowl it again.
That's the way,
Yeah, it was good.
And that's it. And, that's been well documented. No one wants the bouncer to go. It's an important part of fast bowling. So
Yeah. It was something that needed to come back in. And I'm glad that the very first bouncer of the game, even though it was bowled by an Indian bowler, the Adelaide crowd applauded it.
Yeah.
It was good to say, it was the statement that everyone wanted to see.
Yeah.
We're playing cricket again.
And it's good to see that there's a common sense reaction instead of just a knee-jerk reaction that people have had. A cool head said it's a tragedy, but,
It's like getting struck by lightning and then never going outside again.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
Banning storm clouds.
So anyway, 1-0 in a 4-test series. We move on to Brisbane. And the teams were announced, the Australian team was announced about half hour ago. And we got 3 changes. We've got Clark, who's out, who's ripped his hamstring up. So I think he's done for the summer.
Plus his back's still in trouble as well.
Yeah, his back's going to be in trouble now because he's going to be lying on a hospital bed for the next couple of months.
Yeah.
So Clark is out. They're giving Harris a rest, who was serviceable.
Yeah.
It was a workhorse effort.
He was, but he'll always give you 100%. Obviously, we've seen that.
God, if he had a proper set of knees, he'd be amazing.
He would be crazy.
But yeah, you're right. You know what you're going to get with him.
Yeah.
He's going to charge in and try his best every time.
Yeah.
His best bowling isn't that far away from his worst. So he's going to have a rest for Brisbane, and Siddle is a little bit the same, having a rest, but he was also probably a little bit slower and not as threatening as they would have liked in Adelaide. So he's having a rest too. For Brisbane, in comes Sean Marsh to replace Clark, and he'll be batting in the mid-order with his brother.
Yep.
Josh Hazlewood will debut. He'll wear cap number 440, so right armour, and Mitch Stark, the left armour.
Oh, he's come back in again?
He's come back in again, which is a couple of interesting things. Brisbane's, it's always a good test up there for Australia because I think we win 90% of them.
Our record there is incredible. I can't remember who did play last summer. I think we've never lost to them in Brisbane or something ridiculous like that.
Last summer it was England, wasn't it?
Yeah, it must be.
I think so. It was something like that. We've never lost. We win 90% and draw 10.
South Africa, I think it might have been.
Yeah, it might have been South Africa.
Oh, fuck knows.
Yeah,
can't remember. Like we said,
too long now.
Too long ago.
So Brisbane, it's a good pitch to come in on for a fast bowler trying to stake their claims.
Yeah, and I think just the warm weather out there always makes the pitch dry out a bit quicker and put a bit of bounce in there. Yeah,
I think I'm actually going to be in Brisbane on the last day, but I doubt I'll be able to swindle out there. You know what? If they throw the gates open the last day, I might be able to make it.
Take the kids down there. I remember them saying that apparently the Brisbane deck has taken over from the Wacker in regards to being a fast bowlers.
It's good to see.
Yeah.
As I said, I think Warney always liked it up there, but he liked it everywhere.
Yeah, I think Warney liked it everywhere.
So it'd be good that a bit of bounce up there. Lyon might be able to back it up, but you're going to be looking to Stark, Johnson.
We could see a role reversal where Lyon might be the one that tries to contain with just some short, sharp bowling.
Yeah, and give the fast bowlers a rest in rotation.
Yeah.
Marsh can throw a few down. I wonder if Smith will bowl himself.
Even Davey Warner can arm a few down there. He's not a bad spinner.
He's bowled a bit. I don't think he's taken a wicket at Test level yet, but he's bowled about 10
ready
overs.
then.
Yeah, he's due.
He's due.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, if Punter could get a wicket, then I think Davey would be on.
He was all right, Punter. He was an all-rounder when he started, but...
Yeah, he wasn't great. The only wicket I remember him getting was when someone went off injured and he completed the over, ended up taking a wicket.
Did he?
Yeah.
I have to look that up. But yeah, where was it going?
We got Watson as a part-time...
Part-time part-time
pie bowler or something like that.
He breaks down so often.
He does.
One of the great things when Watson comes in is following it on Twitter for the Watto Lotto.
The Watto Lotto, that's great, isn't it?
He's very lucky, I reckon, to keep his spot.
Oh, he's been lucky to keep his spot his whole career. Like, they showed a lot of faith in him when he had all those breakdowns sort of earlier on in his career.
Coming back. And then he looked like a world beater.
Yeah. Remember, he just struggled to get the ton for ages. I remember going to the day at the MCG when he finally got there.
I reckon it was about 2009, because I think I can remember it.
Yeah. But, he's always been someone that apparently everyone on the inside have said, this guy, he's got the potential. It's just a matter of staying healthy. And I think maybe it might have been a case of choosing between being a batter or being a bowler, because his body just couldn't handle going out to bat and then coming in to bowl. Yeah. And I think doing that a lot, and especially at that point where it's sort of in transition, and he was a good line length bowler, just put it in there,
medium pace,
seam up. Yeah.
Be interesting if he switched over to bowling some finger spin or something. Because I'm thinking of Andrew Simons, who's sort of a bigger lad as well.
Just
wouldn't be a miss.
Arm balls down there.
Yeah, just off a 5 or 6 step run up.
And kind of like David Hussey, where they do that job where it's just quick, get him in there, get the overs through, put pressure on the team, keep them tight.
Or Michael Hussey, yeah.
Michael Hussey, yeah.
Yeah, or David did it in the one days as well. Try and still keep him as an all-rounder, but try and do something.
Manage him differently.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if you do footy, you got somebody who's a bit of aging and they might go in the back flank rather than playing in the middle all the time. Well, you got to do something with Watson.
And plus, the other thing with Watson is he's got a bit of mongrel about him, which is always good for the Aussie team.
He looks like a bit of a prick, which is good.
He does.
You want that as a competitor.
Yeah, you want to stick him in second slip.
Yeah, keep the mouth running.
Yep, all day.
So he fortunate to keep his spot, and so is Chris Rogers, who hasn't been. Yeah. In a time where Warner's been killing it and Smith has been killing it, even Clark was injured and still scored 100. Yeah. And those two missed out in both innings.
And the competition for those spots in the team, like the 3 and 4 batter, is just intense. And it's only getting more and more harder for players to cement a position in there, because in the domestic league, you got Cowan, who's just killing it.
He had 100 in each innings, and and he's not the only one.
Yep. And that raises eyebrows. People are like, all right, well, you have to give him a go. You're not going to leave him out like Brad Hodge or someone like that.
Eventually you keep scoring runs, you're going to get put in. It is the good thing with the strength of the Australian cricket team over the last couple of decades, that people have been given a real apprenticeship in Shield cricket or even county cricket. Yeah. That somebody like Matty Hayden came along and Michael Hussey was just shit. We've got it wasn't. Somebody's getting dropped, who do we replace them with? It's this person's getting in, who goes out?
Who goes out? Yeah.
They don't force their way in.
Yeah. And even, because Hughes was in the same position for a while where he was killing it in the domestic league, and then when he came to the first class, he just struggled to get a start. Yeah. But then he came good, well in domestic, but just didn't put it together.
Khawaja was, I reckon, a little bit victim of media as well. Because I remember his very first innings is at the SCG, and he scored, I think, 30-odd not out, and that made the front, the front of the news bulletin. Yeah. I thought, look, I'm really excited that he's got a game as well. He deserves it, but let's not get excited about a 30-odd not out. Yeah, yeah. It was the first Muslim player, and born overseas and come out here and made his. Great story and great PR. Yeah. But let's not gild the lily. Yeah. He got a start and got out. And it's good that eventually that's going to stop, and it did. And now you've got to earn your stripes again.
Yeah. We've got to the point now where we've got consistency amongst those batters fighting for those positions, and so it's not one and done, or give them 2 test matches and then no good. You've got people who are coming in, they're already firing. So
ready to go.
Yeah.
Speaking of one and done, Mitch Starc coming back in. He's never played 2 tests in a row.
Really?
So every time he's come in, it's been at the expense of somebody through injury or resting. Yeah. So I would think coming in on a pace-friendly pitch, with Harris being sore and Siddle being sore, underdone, a little bit down on form, big, tall left armour, big bouncy wicket, there's a good chance to say, I'm here and I want to play.
And I mean, with someone like that, you'd have to stick around Mitch Clark, put him under his flap, show him how to bowl left arm to these people, and
Mitch Johnson, you mean?
Mitch Johnson, sorry, because it's Mitch Johnson struggled with the left arm bowling at the start of his career, and whatever he's done right has got that certainly straightened out. And I mean, another left armer, if you can put him down the same sort of path as Mitch Johnson, then our bowling stocks, especially in the pace department, are looking good for the future.
Yeah, and you always like to see your bowlers, 6'4", 6'5", coming in and bringing it on from
and just having the option of a left arm bowler as opposed to most being right-handed is always handy to have.
Well, it is interesting because we've always gone with two rights and then the left. The left being Mitch, obviously.
Yeah.
But now we've got two lefts in Mitchell and Mitchell.
Yeah.
And then Josh Hazelwood, the debutant, who's the right arm. So hopefully he can come in and bring some real pace to it and get his first one out of the way early and then continue on.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see how they go with the bouncer and the flat deck. Is it going to be just dig them in, get them unrattled, or?
Yep.
I think the niceties are over at this point.
Yeah. We've gotten rid of that now. It's going to be one and over.
Yeah, I think this one will see the white line fever come back out.
Yeah, it'll be good.
We're all friends, but once you pass that white line, it'll be on for young and old.
Yeah, not that friendly.
Yeah, true.
On the other side of the coin, be funny. India's got a few selection issues. Obviously, the spinners struggled in Adelaide, in Sharma, like we spoke about. But is Dhoni ready to come back? Because they're a different side if Dhoni's playing.
Yeah, and it seems like if Dhoni's back, I mean, and their spinners aren't going well, their policy is just score more runs.
Score more runs,
more runs, and you're going to win or draw.
I got to admit, Dhoni's one of the cricketers you love watching because he's always that positive attitude. Very much like Shahid Afridi. I like watching him bat as well because he doesn't seem to block it.
And I mean, when you've got the luck over a hit Sharma in your squad as well, you're going to be able to get a few extra fours and sixes from the likes of him.
Yeah, it's a great positive lineup when they're all clicking.
Yeah,
and I think Dhoni might be a better captain as well than Kohli.
Yeah, and the thing is with Kohli scoring like he is, don't give him the captain. Don't even go out there, score his runs.
Well, I mean, doubles century in both innings on debut as captain, not bad.
Yeah.
The captaincy side of it, though, there's a few times where in both innings where it felt like, okay, let's just wait till they're ready to declare, and then we'll go in and see what we can do.
Yeah.
And the over rate was slow as shit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's the things that, unless you've got that experience in the captaincy, I mean, in the heat of the moment, you might not just be paying attention to those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But they come back to bite you in the ass. And when it hits your mate's hip pocket and it's costing them money, they're not going to like that too much.
Yeah. And especially if I think if you get done twice for slow over rates, then the captain, might miss a test match or something like that. Yeah. Which has happened before.
Yeah, I think Dhoni might have actually got a couple for that. Yeah,
I think he's had a couple. One days as well.
Yeah, like we've said before, if I was chasing Warner's cherries around, I couldn't be fucked bowling the ball
again.
That
after a while,
yeah, especially day one on a 30 to 35 degree day or wherever it was down Adelaide.
Adelaide's nice, but it's not that nice running around to see it all.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's only so many churches you can look at before how fucked it is.
So second test, Australia, you put them in 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, barring weather, I think they should be a bit of an easier test than Adelaide for the Aussies.
Hopefully there's a bit more life in the pitch, both ways. Because India only took 12 wickets in Adelaide, and that's the same as what Nathan Lyon took.
And that's another good point that someone on Twitter brought up, was that it could be the first time where a team only takes, 12 wickets or something, and wins.
Yeah. There's not many times where... I know it's a big thing where a team declares in both innings and gets done.
Yeah.
But the only way that happens is if they're doing an aggressive declaration, which Australia did. I mean, 300 and what did they set, 340 or something in the second innings? That's not insurmountable. I mean, I know. It's
the thing is, to win, you always have to risk losing. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. Unless you score 800 in the first innings, but usually with the second innings declaration, they go to a point where we can only win this test match or draw it.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it just had that little glimmer of hope.
Yeah.
And really, it's that glimmer of hope that got Kohli out.
Yeah, and I think what might have also came into play was it the rain delay, which meant they had the long last session of day 4. Where,
added hours, half an hour each day.
Yeah, where they covered on the commentary of the cricket where they said you wouldn't want to send a sort of a patched up team out into the field for 3 hours on a 35-degree day and then have them try and win the match next day. So that's good captaincy as well from Clark. He played it really well. And people were questioning his fitness for the match and saying, he's injured, he shouldn't have played in the first place. But he scored 100.
Yeah.
And in real tough circumstances, he's captained the team to a T where we've declared the right time, made the right decisions, and then he's gone off. Yeah. And we've still won the match.
Still won the match. And, Haddon's cleaned it up.
And, I mean, just from the situation, the environment, and what he had done as captain with Hughes' family, and that it would have been very hard for him not to lead his team and his mates out there for the first test of the Australian summer.
Emotion and sentiment can give you that extra 5 or 10%, and that's all he needed.
Yeah, and the thing is, at the end of the day, it is a game, and it's more important for him to show the human side of him as a person and what he's prepared to do for his mates, because they're more than just teammates, they're his mates. They grow up together.
There's no doubt through this whole difficult period that he's gained a lot of respect worldwide for his off-field captaincy. Yeah. I'll tell you, if he was running for office, mate, he's a shoo-in.
Yeah.
Besides we've got shit otherwise.
And that's what sets you apart from the best and then the greatest. I mean, look at Muhammad Ali, one of the best boxers ever, but one of the greatest athletes ever, just because of what he did outside the ring. Just as much what he did inside the ring.
And people still talk about him. And, he's lost more fights than some others, but they still talk about Muhammad Ali.
Exactly. And I think you'll see that same sort of love carry over for Clark, just for what he did as a human being, as opposed to what he did as a cricketer.
Yep. So you reckon he will come back? It's going to be not this. It won't be this year.
No.
This season, I should say. I think you put a line through the World Cup and look to Ashes.
I mean, you might put a line through anything besides Test matches.
Yeah, you reckon just he's already essentially retired from T20. He never played in the bloody T20s anyway.
Yeah.
But I think I heard on the radio today he's played in 23 of the last 45 one-dayers.
Yep.
So you're not losing a magnificent amount if he's no longer playing one-dayers.
And I think, with him just doing Test matches, I mean, it's a very multifaceted argument, but I think him being around a Test match squad that's going on tour, you get that culture that you'll instill into the young players in the team, and you need to make sure that thrives in order for success to grow through Australian cricket, like from the top down.
I mean, he's not old. He's only 33 or 32 or something like that. He's just been around forever because he started so young.
Yeah, and I mean, he spent a lot of time out in the middle.
Yeah, which is comes to the next interesting decision, which is, we touched on it, and Steve Smith's been giving the vice captaincy or the captaincy role. Yeah, essentially.
It's like you call it an interim captaincy.
Yeah,
like that. Where you still give him a belt, but you're not sure if it's the real one or.
Which is interesting because he's very similar in lead up in his career to Michael Clark before he was touched as the next captain.
Yeah.
But they're really giving him his blessing as you are the next full-time captain of Australia.
Yeah. Take this opportunity to learn from it, and if Clark doesn't come back, I mean, you're in.
You're in. You're in. Even if Clark does come back for 1 to 5 years, once that's up, it's Steve Smith.
Yeah, and they could have gone down the road of giving Brad Haddon the captaincy and use him just as the interim until we find out if Clark's coming back or if Smith needs to be blooded a bit more. But the thing is, he's been around long enough and he's performing well enough that he's got to grips on what it takes to be an international cricketer. Yeah, well, it's that measure, isn't it? Because he's in such a rich vein of form. Yeah. And you want to mess with that rich vein of form. So, I mean, it's a great argument to happen because the answers are in the next 5 days. And I think a lot of it definitely would have gone through their mind when they were making a decision. And I think what would have been in his favour was how well everyone around him was performing. So if he doesn't make his 100, he makes 30 or whatever, there's a good chance someone else is going to stand up and crack a ton. And we've got plenty, we bat down the order a fair way that are capable of doing that. Yeah, I mean, you've got Johnson who's scored a Test 100 as well. So it goes pretty deep. Yeah, and it wasn't the Dizzy Gillespie 100 either. It was, he actually played some decent strokes. Do you read that article I posted on Twitter? He wrote for the Raw. Yeah, I did. That was brilliant. I'll put a link on the website for it. If you can read Dizzy Gillespie's modest appraisal of his 200 not out innings, it's a great read. And he's actually doing the coverage for Sky Sports. Is he? Yeah, he's covering the Australian Test match for them. And I love Dizzy. He's a legend. He's really funny. He's a good lad. Yeah. I still remember that match where he's hearing about it where he's saying he remembered every single person's high score that was going past, and he said Mark Wall was the one where he's like, I've got to fucking get Mark Wall. Come on.
180 or something, wasn't it? Yeah. It's good. Cricketers love their stats.
Yep.
And they know every single one of their own stats.
Yep. It's like, everyone knows Glenn McGrath can recall all his wickets.
And he's 61 not out.
Yep. Every stroke of that one, I reckon.
Yeah. Oh, might not have been not out. Anyway. So it would be interesting to go, Steve Smith. There was a little bit of talk that Davey Warner might have been the one, but I like Steve Smith, I think.
Yeah, me too. I think Davey Warner, he's doing good as he is, but I think Smith's got a much more cool head.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah. There was a little bit of going on in the last one, wasn't there? A little bit of argy with those two when they're out in the middle.
Yep. And I mean, who do you give a left hook to? Someone. Then they went home depressed.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I know what you're talking about now.
Trot. That's what it was. No, not Trot. Someone else.
One of the Englishmen.
Yeah. They're Englishmen.
Who deserved it by being an Englishman.
Yeah. And I still haven't read KP's book yet, but the shorts of it seemed interesting spray about that whole incident.
Yeah. He's one of those KP, one of those players that you love to hate him, but I'm glad he exists.
You'll always watch him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And cricket and sport in general, you need those teams or people where you don't like them. In fact, you hate them, but they have to be doing well to develop the rivalries and
exactly
to get that vested interest in a match and really start, going for a team.
If it was somebody like a Philip Tufnell doing it, you just go, fuck off, you wanker.
Yeah.
But KP, and it is that I want to win.
Yeah.
I don't care. I want to win.
And you hate it when it's all coming together for him against your team.
Exactly right.
Because Rover runs. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it's going to be. And that's just me.
And speaking with a South African twang in an English batting lineup just adds to it.
Yep.
There's a long history of that with Australia, with Tony Greig and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that it lives on in another.
Yeah. And especially when we've got boring test matches, you've got someone that you can hang shit on or make it interesting for yourselves or your mates of the cricket.
Yeah. It's good that he's coming out for the Big Bash League this year too.
Yeah, he's already come.
He's already landed, playing for Melbourne Stars.
Yeah. I think they had their first hit out the other day.
Practice match.
Yeah.
I think it's either this week or next week. The Melbourne versus Adelaide's the first game. I think the Big Bash League, this is the fourth season, so the Big Bash League 4, they're calling it. It's been a great little concept.
It has, yeah. I think it's been really successful, and also it's great that they've opened it up to allow lots of international players, so you'll try and get the best of the best in their playing. You're not just going to have one team that's stacked.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of guys from overseas who are at the end of their career or professional T20 players coming out here, and it makes it exciting. Chris Gale came out here with big tickets and no runs, and then Dwayne Bravo comes out here and scores some runs.
Yeah.
KP this year will be fantastic again. It'd be really interesting to see how a Melbourne crowd at the MCG cheering for Kevin Peterson.
Yeah, but I mean, there's one thing about Melbourne, they'll forgive you if you start winning.
If you start winning, then nobody cares.
It does not matter what you do. If you start making the home team win, you're in.
So I'm looking forward to that. And, it's great to see state cricket getting an absolute following.
Yeah, and that's the way to get people who aren't traditionally grown up watching cricket into it, because it is exciting. And my girlfriend, I got her to watch, it wasn't a 2020, but it was the one day where, obviously Faulkner won it for us because he wins all of them for us.
He does.
But she hates cricket. And I was looking at my phone, watching a movie or something, and I was following the scores on my phone. And it's got down to we needed, I think it was like 40 off of 29 or something like that. It was close anyway. And I was going, baby, look, we've got to watch cricket, but I promise you'll enjoy the end of it.
You'll enjoy this one, yeah.
And she's like, oh, why? I'm like, because Australia's playing and this is where you live, and you just naturally, you'll start going for your team. You'll get into it because it's close.
He's the Michael Bevan of his generation now, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I think he's even got the nickname Bevo in the change rooms.
I would not surprise me in the least.
Yeah. And anyway, towards the end of the match, she was into it. She was cheering. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe that. That was really exciting.
Bandwagoner.
Yeah, I'm like, don't get too excited. Don't watch the next one because you'll end up hating it again. Yeah. But it was interesting. I know you're going to like it. We'll just flick it over and you'll enjoy it. So I think even taking her to 2020s might be more up her alley. And it tends to get a lot of exciting matches in the Big Bash League because of all the international players.
Yeah. I took even the little lad to a couple of games last year.
Yeah.
Which, he struggled with the stupid fireworks and bloody everything else that goes on around it. And to be honest, I think that's the worst thing about the Big Bash League is that they're trying too hard. I mean, I don't mind, motocross and all that kind of crap beforehand.
Yeah.
But the dances on the side of it is,
Yeah.
You're trying to create an atmosphere, but
Yeah.
who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, fireworks during the day are just ridiculous.
Inside a stadium.
Yeah. And if anything, like at the MCG or at Etihad when the roof's open, I mean, the only concern I could see would be planes flying overhead, but you think you'd put the fireworks like on the roof.
Yeah.
Like they do it like Wembley Stadium or anywhere like that.
Anywhere else that's sensible, because fireworks inside a stadium when the smoke hangs around forever, it's just so stupid. I don't know why people still insist on doing it.
Yeah. And I think they're just like, they feel like they have to. They have to do something.
Well, yeah, it is somebody justifying their job. Like, look what else we've done extra.
Yeah.
We've got these street dancers up in the stands. I'm like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's just copied from some other sport anyway. They've come up with something original that's cricket. And I mean, even the bales that light up, that's a good concept.
Beautiful concept. It should be in all one days.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea.
So that's come out of the Big Bash League, as far as I know. The other big winner out of the Big Bash League, I think, is Aaron Finch.
Yeah.
For me, that's where he made his name, smacking him out for the Rebels.
Yeah, well, that's where I heard of him. Yeah.
Forced his way into the Australian T20 and then the Australian one-day team.
Yep.
And it'd be interesting to see if he can go further and go into the Test teams, but there's no Sheffield Shield until after the Test series now, I think, so that'll be difficult. But, it's good to see that the league has fostered the local talent as much as it has bringing in the overseas.
Yeah, and also with the Big Bash League, I don't know, I mean, do we still have Australia A? Does Australia A play any games whatsoever?
They do, but not that many. They'll play like Australia A played South Africa A just recently. But yeah, I think they play half a dozen games a year.
Yeah, because it seems like sort of the 2020 format has taken over that blooding of young players onto an international stage. Yeah, which I think is good as well, because you're actually playing for something. You're not playing to get into a team to play for something.
And you've got people there watching it. There's been some Big Bash games that have been sold out last year.
Yeah,
not the MCG sold out, but down in Tassie and over in Perth, which is just stupid when you think it's a state league game.
Yeah, and a lot of people couldn't even name half the players, but they still want to go and watch good cricket.
And you get to see the legends as well, along with the new up and comers.
And you'll find someone who's an absolute gem like Davey Warner, and he's gone on to play a lot of Test matches and score tons. And 10 years, you're like, I remember watching him down MCG when he's nobody, switching stances and doing all sorts of crazy shit.
Doing switch hitting sixes and
he'll only get better with the older you get, those innings.
Yeah. I went back during the week, I think I said, and watched the 89 he scored in the T20 against South Africa on debut.
Oh, okay,
He was just absolutely smacking them. And that was when, certainly in the Australian media, T20s weren't considered real cricket. It was still a hit and giggle type of thing.
Yeah.
And the way he lit up the MCG that night.
Yeah.
You go, wow, we've got a player here, but also I think it cemented T20 for Australia.
Yeah, and I think it's just shown the different strategies that you can adopt when playing T20 as well, that you don't adopt when playing one days and Test matches.
Yeah, it's good. It's just another version.
Yeah.
Do you reckon it will lead to the downfall of one days?
No, I think they can all coexist. And we've seen the excitement of the last set of one days. I mean, the crowds were low. But the cricket was really good.
That's the problem. We had a 5-match series against South Africa, and it was a little bit earlier than the cricket is usually.
Yeah.
And the crowds were disappointing. I think we had 20 or 24,000 at the MCG, which is really disappointing, especially at a ground that fits 100,000.
Yeah.
It looks even worse. But the on-field product was awesome. They were, they were great games to watch.
Which I think that the problems with crowd attendance, I don't think they're necessarily associated with cricket or the quality of cricket or necessarily people's opinion of cricket. I think a lot of it comes down to people don't have jobs, people struggling with money, they just can't make ends meet, and plus there's such a saturation of events during the summer now.
Yeah.
I mean, because you're trying to attract, kids, adults, parents, that sort of age group, and it's mainly a male crowd that you're appealing to, even though you're trying to get females into it, which 2020 is a good way of doing it. But people are saving up for music festivals, they're saving up for Christmas, they're saving up
for the World Cup.
Yeah, World Cup. You've got the Asian Cup next year. I mean, you've got soccer, you've got Big Bash League to compete with.
Yeah, you've just finished football.
Just had Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, so I think we noticed that this year with the football as well.
Yeah.
Crowds were down and everyone's going, well, guys, you're stumping me $60 for a ticket, or I can watch it live at home.
And the thing is, they're already calling the Australian Cricket Board, were calling an investigation in low crowds before the game was even over.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it seems like a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. I think a lot of the problems are people want to go and watch cricket, but you just can't fork out money for everything.
Yeah, and for dead rubber games too, it's going to make it even harder.
And one good thing I think, which was sensible, was they're continuing allowing your own food and drink into Etihad Stadium.
Yeah. I mean, it's something, especially when you've got all the restaurants sitting outside the front there.
Yeah.
And you buy it, you can't walk 20 metres and walk through the gates. It's a bit silly.
Yeah, and I mean, you can stick your hot dogs in your thermos and make that at half time or whatever, change of innings, but it gets old pretty quick. Yeah. There's only so many hot dogs you can eat.
Yeah. But in a way, the emotion around Phil Hughes in world cricket might make a difference in crowd numbers and interest in the game a little bit. It's put it back into the spotlight.
Yeah.
Not for a positive reason, but certainly the reaction was positive.
Yeah, and that's just the reality of the situation. It sort of stirs the emotions among people, and quite rightly so. And I think you'll find that because it's cross codes as well, it's not just cricket that have paid the respects. I mean, we saw Elton John paying respect to him,
and that's an important
Germany.
Yeah, that's a good one too to point out, because there was a lot of celebrities that were doing it and posting it to their own Instagram and that kind of stuff, and I got no problem with it. But Elton John is a long-time cricket fan who made his little tribute, if you like, on stage in Germany, which is the thing I like, is he did it. He's not doing it pandering to the crowd.
Yeah.
Obviously he knows it's going to get out there and stuff like that, but you can tell that he did it because he's a cricket fan and he was affected by it.
Yeah.
So that's something very positive, I think.
Yeah, and his intentions were true. He had nothing to gain from it. Didn't gain anything.
No, he's not looking for publicity. It was a way of, everybody was dealing with it. So
yeah, it was genuine.
So, hopefully the numbers, bums in seats, picks up a little bit, because, the on-field product is as good as it's ever been.
I think Australian cricket, from the on-field situation, is just getting better and better. I mean, I'm not sure if we still got our number one spots, but...
Just got it back off in the one day and test, I think.
Yep. But, if not, it's not far away. I think you've seen maybe decisions that were made in regards to growing Australian cricket 5 years ago coming to fruition now.
Yeah.
I don't know what those plans were or anything, but something's happened where we've got an influx of players that are fighting for positions now, not finding a player to fill a position.
Well, it's almost, back in the day, it was hard to get into the side, and you had guys like Michael Hussey who was scoring, 10,000 runs in county cricket and all first-class cricket.
30 years old or something like that?
30, 31 before they could debut, and nothing wrong with it because the Australian team was winning.
Yeah.
Then we had that little lull because we had all these guys retire, and had some embarrassing series, especially in the Ashes over in the UK.
Yeah.
And now it's, the guys that they're younger when they're making their debut, like Hazelwood's 24, I think. But we're still, a top-notch side. And you got guys like Steve Smith, who's been around for a couple of years, and Davey Warner, who's been around for a few years, who are now established. Probably going to be there for another 10.
Yeah, and I mean, in Smith, he still looks like he's 18. He's fresh out of the academy.
Generous.
Yeah, fresh out of the academy.
I saw somebody online who reckons he looks like Nick Rewalt. I don't get that at all.
No.
I mean, besides being blonde.
He's got blonde hair. Yeah, that's it.
That's good enough.
Oh, his blonde's all the same, don't they?
We'll get an Arian sign sooner or later.
All right, guys, and that concludes our first podcast on for the Australian cricket summer.
The first cricket, that's the podcast before Wicket.
Yeah, and it's been a long time coming, this one, obviously, with all the delays in that. We've had a lot of time to think about what's been going on, and finally something's happened. We
didn't even get to talk about South Africa's opening batsman, De Kock.
Yeah, exactly.
And I had so many jokes. They're all the same.
Oh, yeah, and I mean, those jokes will continue on for the whole summer.
I can't wait till the World Cup starts again so we can get De Kock back out.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, it's been fun. Follow us on Twitter at Clicking Balls. We're on Facebook as well.
Yeah, check out the website. You get all the links there.
Yep, leave a comment.
Cheers, guys.
All right, thanks. Bye.